How far would you go for your deepest desire? What would you be willing to sacrifice? One-Eyed Likho is a new horror-stained narrative puzzle game from small but inspired Russian team Morteshka that is singularly focused on this treacherous idea. This is a tale of two men who follow greed and curiosity down a rabbit hole that few come back from. A smith and a tailor with idle minds and hearts decide after too many drinks to pursue a legend, a one-eyed witch called Likho. Along that twisted path are plenty of clever puzzles, many of which involve igniting wooden brush with a box of ordinary matches that thankfully never runs out. Perhaps they aren't so ordinary. I've seen people jokingly call this arsonist simulator, and as funny as that is, it's actually kind of true. However, the matches also provide light in darkened places and the occasional jump scare when someone or something blows out your light. The monochromatic art style comes to life with every blazing fire and swelling wave, creating a mood that, while evoking other games such as Obra Dinn or Mundawn, definitely finds its own aesthetic and gameplay rhythm. This is an entirely narrative-driven experience that very rarely strays from the critical path, but that ends up being wind in this game's sails. There's no lulls or boring segments in this game. It's always ready to show players something new and different. Aside from puzzles, there are a few moments in the game that actually provide a threat of pursuit and death, but I never felt too stressed by them. In spite of the danger, I didn't die in this game once. I do believe it is possible. I just played the game correctly, I suppose. If anything, I felt more invested in the story than ever, just doing my best to make it back from Likho's temple with my life and hopefully my body intact. There's a careful editing of visuals and cinematic moments with a vintage aspect ratio that's very reminiscent of the recent horror hit Longlegs. Much of this game is quiet, letting the ambient sounds build dread. But when the music swells, it's hard not to get swept away. Dark Slavic folk music makes this ritualistic experience feel sacred and blasphemous at the same time. Throughout the player's descent into Likho's clutches, boxes with combination locks hold scrolls with real myths from different places around the world, all in relation to one-eyed creatures' encounters with men. Much in the way that many cultures around the world share religious iconography, it becomes clear that there are some similarities between many different one-eyed legends as well. These developers have clearly done their homework. Again and again, stories of large one-eyed men or women herding sheep, living in a cave far away from civilization. Humans hearing tales of riches track down these cyclopean creatures and attempt to steal from them, only to find out that any gift obtained from the One-Eyes comes with a price. No man can face a One-Eye and leave unchanged. There's a healthy dose of irony then, as these scrolls first show up early on and their similarities begin to pile up. The player finds themselves in the domain of Likho, with these cautionary tales clearly reminding them that they are currently taking part in one of these stories themselves. I constantly found myself with a huge grin on my face because I knew where this story was headed and it didn't matter. The player's companion, the tailor, goes through quite a transformation over the course of the game, but his changes only highlight how much further the smith, the player character, has to go on their journey. In spite of how strangely horrific the tailor's appearance becomes, he actually provides quite a bit of much-needed comic relief. There are certainly periods where the player is on their own, but the tailor is almost always with them in some fashion, asking them questions that the player actually has some agency in answering. It helps the player see themselves in the smith and make this story their own. These conversation mechanics continue as the player meets Likho herself. The more scrolls the player has read, the better prepared they will be for trickery and temptations. The end of the game is the same for all players, but certain responses to questions definitely alter the experience, at least in terms of what conversations take place. This is a thoughtfully crafted, transporting experience. not just to shadowy Russian woods, but to surreal landscapes that bend the mind and ignite fear. One-Eyed Likho is a searing brand that leaves its mark quick, but permanent. Thanks so much for watching. For reviews of high-quality horror games and every other kind of game imaginable, subscribe to Hackathon today.